But the true nature is that, yes, PhD is a tough journey. It is not going to be a bed full of roses, but necessarily it's not a bed full of thorns also.
That was the voice of Charvi Hasmukh Shukla, the guest on this episode of The Knowledge Mill. I'm your host, Greg Yoakum. Charvi's journey reflects her values of communication, humanity, academia, research, vision, and innovation, as embodied in the spelling of her name, Charvi. She is driven by a deep curiosity about human behavior and a desire to contribute meaningfully to society. Her journey began early on, nurtured by her experiences as a child artist. Performing arts instilled in her the importance of communication, empathy, and understanding human emotions and interactions, laying the foundation for her fascination with human behavior and its complexities. This fascination ultimately led her to pursue a career in human resource management, where she could explore the intersection of individuals and organizations. Driven by a desire to contribute to knowledge creation and make a lasting impact, Charvi is currently pursuing her doctoral degree at India's oldest and leading human resource management business school, XLRI, Xavier School of Management. While her doctoral research focuses on the evolving landscape of HRM, with a particular emphasis on the impact of artificial intelligence technology, skill development, and well-being, her research interests also extend to diversity and inclusion, international HRM, digital transformation of HR practices, and others. Her thesis, entitled AI and Human Interplay, Exploring the Impact of Technology on Skills and Well-being, investigates the complex relationship between technology and the human experience in the workplace. This research, conducted under the guidance of esteemed faculty at XLRI, aims to contribute to a deeper understanding of this critical area within the field of HRM. Charvi and I first connected via the 2024 conference of the Australian and New Zealand Academy of Management, aka ANZM. She was gracious enough to visit me in my office at UTS to record an episode, but when I went to check the recording file, I discovered it sounded like this.
PhD where you are, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. It might be interesting for you a couple of years from now to listen.
My worst nightmare had come to pass. The recording was completely unusable. Fortunately, Charvi was still in town and willing to try again. Because we'd had a dry run, our conversation flowed very naturally and, to our surprise, went in largely different directions than the first one. As she relays in this episode, her recent experience presenting research at the ANZM conference provided her with valuable insights and further motivated her commitment to contributing to the academic community. Toward the end of our conversation, she lays out her idea for a loop of theory and practice development that I think all listeners will find particularly compelling. This episode of The Knowledge Mill was recorded in my office at the University of Technology, Sydney on December 23, 2024. Show notes, including links to more information on some of the topics that Charvi and I discuss, can be found at theknowledgemill.com/episode 15. That's episode and the numerals 1 and 5. Hello, Charvi. Welcome to the program.
I guess welcome to the program again?
Again. Welcome back to the program. Because we are doing this for a second time. One of my worst nightmares came to pass, which is we had a beautiful conversation. We're speaking on a Monday morning, but we last spoke on Friday afternoon, and everything went very well except for the recording, which whenever I went to back it up, I discovered was corrupted from beginning to end. But fortunately, you were still in town, and graciously, you were happy to come back in and give it another try. And so I guess we'll see how it goes, because the speaking off the cuff and getting to know each other as we're recording is kind of part of the appeal of the podcast, I think. But now we already know each other.
True. So it's like the exploration stage has already crossed. Now we are like more of, okay, now we have sought a, conversational set that this is what we are going to know. This is how we are going to talk about. Right. So. And
I know a little bit more about your research, but maybe that means I'll be able to ask better questions as we go along. So
I am honestly very happy. So I'm just going to take this opportunity to say thank you so much again for having me here on your podcast, Knowledge Mill. And it is very important for me that you took time from your family vacation and you are here just for recording this podcast. It really means a lot. So thank you so much.
No, the pleasure is mine. I'm glad we were able to do this. So,
yes.
Shall we get into it?
Yes. Yeah. Let's hit it.
Now, we were originally connected due to the ANSM conference. And that was taking place in Wollongong, but it just so happened that you were going to be in Sydney, where my office is, and so we decided to meet after the fact and record. So now it's a couple weeks after the conference, but I thought it might be fun to start there and talk about how your conference went.
Indeed. So, as I had told you, that honestly, there's two words that I have for the conference, and those are amazing enzyme. And why I say this is because the whole atmosphere at the conference was so supportive and so good when it comes to the research community. So my experience at the enzyme conference was nothing short of a transformative one. And it was so incredible to be a part of a vibrant community of scholars, practitioners, thought leaders who are actually at the front of the management research and practices. So this conference has actually provided me a platform to engage in deep and meaningful discussions with some of the most pressing issues in management today, particularly around technology, around diversity, around the future of work, around so many related areas which maybe even I was alien to. So it happened to be such a informative journey. And apart from this, how do I say this? That I got to meet so many wonderful people. Let it be the organizing team, it could be Rebecca, it could be, there was this other person I met across, or maybe there was Emma who was coordinating the whole event. So it was so wonderful to meet such people who, since last few months I was just talking on emails, and then finally we see each other in the conference, and then, they were happy that I was there. I was happy that throughout the process they have helped me to make it possible to travel from India to the whole Australia thing. So it was so beautiful, and honestly I made such wonderful connections out there. And I am pretty sure that they're going here to stay. So they're going to be here for a long time. And specifically, what I would like to highlight is for the audience that presenting my work and receiving constructive feedback from the audience with such diverse perspectives was very fruitful in my journey as a doctoral student, because it has reinforced the importance of bridging academic theory with real-world applications, something I am deeply passionate about. So, even beyond the sessions, the networking opportunities were invaluable. I had the chance to connect with professionals and the peers from around the globe, exchange ideas, and even plant the seed for potential collaborations. So, I can share one of the incidences that happened, that when we were there for the conference on ground during the doctoral workshop, I happened to meet a vendor. He was from a particular organization, and surprisingly, you won't believe, just 3 days prior to it, I was using their software for one of my classes. So I was conducting a class, a program for managerial development, and I was just using that software for simulation purposes. And surprisingly, when I went there and the person, just approached because they were trying to talk to us, it was so wonderful. We, for the next, I guess, straight 15-20 minutes, we were chatting about how the program is wonderful, the software that they had shared with us. And do you know, we happen to be the only, the 2 or 3 people who have used that particular software simulation till date, because it's just released in India and they were just checking the market acceptability, and eventually they were going to circulate it throughout the world.
Wow.
So that was so hysterical. So he took my photo and he shared it with his colleague. I took his photo and I shared it with my professor and colleagues. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
So apart from the planned things, which were for the constructive feedback on my work, through the interactive sessions to the research note, these unplanned things, I met few wonderful doctoral scholars also, whom I'm constantly in touch with. And sometimes conferences like Enzyme or maybe other ones are a way that a doctoral student can actually network. And not in terms of just commercial networking, like for your publication purposes, but network to talk to peers who are going through the same situation as you are.
Yeah.
I happen to meet a person who's working in a very similar area that I am. It's not same, but it's similar. And it was so rare because in my institute, as of now, nobody is working in that area. So it was so nice. We too, when we shared that this is the XYZ topic, we instantly bonded. And for the next 3 days, we are inseparable. So,
Fast friends.
we were like, oh, we are the best friends. We have known each other for years, It was wonderful. So that as I started with, amazing enzyme.
Yeah, well, that's brilliant, and I think that you're spot on with that's what conferences are about. Or yes, you do the presentation, yes, you get the feedback, and that's why the uni gives you funding to go. But it's really all the offline, so to speak, connections that you make, and I do find like it. A thing that I am always saying is that you make your own luck, right? And so it seems like serendipity that you would encounter this person who had developed this simulation that you happen to be using. But really, you're swimming in the same circle, so maybe it was meant to be that you would run into each other and hit it off.
Indeed. It is crazy. How would you plan a person from India, a person from Finland meeting in Australia?
Yeah.
that was something, that was an interesting takeaway.
Yeah. Well, that's brilliant. And now you'll be able to carry that conversation into the future and get some help with the simulation or give him some valuable feedback. And
Indeed.
Yeah.
I did get a demo simulation.
Oh, nice.
Just a secret.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, you got the inside track now. That's brilliant. Well, I found it to be, this was my first ANSM conference as well, and I found it to be a really supportive community. I wasn't sure what to expect because this is actually the first non-sport management conference I've ever gone to. And of course, it's still management, but it's that broader management context. And so with it being bigger in terms of delegates, there were more people on the ground and more presentations to try to get across. I was a little unsure of how I would go, but I found it to be, in the end, really supportive. And for me, the value, of course, is in doing this. We didn't do it on the ground at the conference, but making these connections with people offline through the podcast, and then those relationships carry on into the future. But at this particular conference, I actually got quite a bit of nice feedback on my presentation because I was a little bit outside of my usual. People in the sport community know me as the design thinking guy, and so whenever I turn up, it's like, oh yeah, there's Greg talking about design thinking again. But here, I get to parachute in, and I'm new.
That's amazing.
So,
congratulations.
Yeah. Well, it's good that way, and then you get that diversity of perspectives, people who are coming at things from a different angle. Most of the questions I got, for example, were about teaching design thinking, which I didn't expect because that wasn't what the presentation was about. But I do teach in that area, and so I was happy to have those conversations, and I got something out of it too, which was unexpected. So, yeah.
As I said, that sometimes you plan out things and which turn out, but the more fun lies in things that are unplanned. So, meeting you, for the second time, I literally am like, this is actually fun because, the last conversation we had was so in-depth. When I went back, I was just thinking about it, like, oh, that was a very interesting point that he mentioned. Oh, that was very good learning that I took from it. So that's like, you keep thinking about it. And when, honestly, life gives you second chances, it's for us to make best of it.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. Things happen, right? And I think any academic out there listening to this would know things happen. And you just have to roll with the punches. Can't let it defeat you. So
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, let's shift from there into talking about the work that you would have been speaking about and presenting at the conference. Could you tell us a little bit about how you found yourself doing a PhD?
Oh, now that question will be dated a little back. So I'm going to rewind you to my childhood, if that's fine for you.
Yeah. No, take us all the way back. I love this story, so I'm excited to hear it again.
Yes, it's a story time. So the whole idea was that I'll divide it in 3 decades. Okay, it can be 0 to 10, say 11 to 20, and 20 to whatever I'm so far. And the 3 decades I have marked on this planet, not completely 3, but yeah, I'm 27 right now, just for information. So these 3 decades, and each decade has a unique chapter in shaping who I am today. So the first chapter that I'm going to dig in is my life as a child artist. When I was 5, my parents introduced me to the world of performing arts. And it was not merely a career, but it was more like a grooming school. So it wasn't just about being on the screen, but more on the side of learning the art of communication. It was more about how to connect with people of all ages, and even more about understanding human emotions and interactions. So, naturally, what happened to me was the directors became my teachers, the co actors somewhere became my classmates, and the whole set in general became a classroom for me. And this was that creative classroom which has laid a very deep foundation of curiosity in me. The curiosity about knowing people, what motivates them, how they work together, and how they simply express themselves so beautifully. So it was during those early years that I realized the value of human emotions, human behaviors, human interactions, and that has till date keeps me entertaining, keeps me fascinated. As I said, keeps me hooked. So it was in those early years that I realized I have an inclination towards one of my kinds, one of the human kinds. And what happened was, fast forwarding to the second decade, when, just like what happens in India, I found myself navigating the big question that after this point, after I complete my schooling, which stream I want to go into. And that's when this early experience from the first decade helped me to know that I want to do something meaningful, something that had a very lasting impact, but which wasn't just extrinsic, rather, it was more of intrinsic value. And that's when I started to learn the value of knowledge creation. Till then, I didn't really understand what knowledge meant. But as I stepped into the second decade of my life, I understood that the quest for knowledge is knowledge itself. And that's how I got attracted to this field, to the whole idea that, after I'm done, after, I'm no longer in this world, what do I want to live an imprint on? And that was on people's mind through knowledge. So I wanted to contribute to something that was larger than myself, and my interest in human resource management became a very natural anchor for doing that. But it was not just for me, rather it got molded into more for people and more for organizations so that it can be expanded beyond myself. And if you ask me, okay, what's HRM for you, Charvi? I would give a very fine definition which is in my mind. That is to do with where human experiences meet strategies and can also be structured. So that is what HRM is for me. These drive the world forward, and that's why it's very important to manage humans well, because as you know, human resources are also the human capital for the world. So it's just not only about passion about knowledge or anything like that. I understand knowledge is very important, passion is very important, but at the same time, it should be commercially viable also. That's why, as I said, that it has to be about people, but about organizations also. So it's a space where I could explore people's potential and well-being while contributing to organization success. So this is how the whole 2 decades looked like. And as I moved towards a second, like a swift move rather, I would say, from second decade to the third decade, was when I was entering my doctoral program, which was one of the very significant milestones in my life so far. And why I say this is because my way of getting closer to what I want, and that is my way of getting closer to mastering my purpose, of understanding how to create knowledge. And why I'm emphasizing so much on it, it's because I can make you understand this with the help of a shloka. It's in Sanskrit, which reads that Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara. In simple terms, this means that the person who is imparting knowledge, it can be a teacher, it can be a professor, it could be a mentor to you. These people are not mere human beings. Rather, they are positioned at the place of Trinity. So in Hindu culture, there are these three big gods, which is Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, who are related to creation, destruction, and knowledge. And that's the level of importance that, the old Sanskrit srutas has put. And that was the whole idea, maybe with which I was rooted. So this was a whole journey that made me feel that, okay, PhD is the way that can help me master the purpose of what the quest is. And eventually, maybe, like subtracting, adding things, I ended up with what my thesis area is, which is to do with AI and human interplay. If I give you an exact idea of what I'm doing, so I'm trying to explore how new technology impacts skill development and well-being. Before I dig more into it, I would give you a background of where I come from. So, as audience already knows that I am from India. And specifically, I am representing rather a institute which is one of the oldest institutes in the country. So our institute was laid back in 1948. And it is one of the top institutes in human resource management in India, which is XLRI. So initially, we were focused at labor relations, and our name, as it suggests, was Xavier Institute of Labor Relations. But with evolving times, we know that things change. The role of a personal manager has now shifted to a HR manager. And that's how even the institute has adapted itself. And now we are beautifully placed as a management school. So that is reflected in our name also. Now our name is Xavier School of Management. So that is the whole pride I am carrying. That's the whole big legacy I'm representing. Because coincidentally, this year we are marking a golden jubilee, which is 75 years of existence. And it gives me so much of joy to be associated with such a prestigious institute.
Yeah.
And when it comes to tying my whole passion and the work I'm doing, the area that I'm currently exploring gives me an edge on it. So what makes me say that is that the broad interest that I hold is of understanding human experiences. But these experiences evolve with evolving nature. So, as I mentioned, AI and technology is one of the prime ones. Because we are all aware that in 2022, towards the end of the year, there was this bomb which was explored, OpenAI, ChatGPT. Such buzzwords were introduced to the whole general public. Maybe people who are working in this area, say software engineers or maybe coders, might be previously aware about these terminologies. But apart from that, general public, it's a new thing. And do you use AI?
Well, yeah, I do use ChatGPT for some things.
That's my point. It is less than 2 years. Right now, I guess we are marking the second year of it. And it's everywhere.
Yeah.
If you're not using it, at least you're aware about it, because the biggest thing is that sometimes creating awareness also takes a lot of time. But if you notice that in such a short duration, if something is getting a hold, if people are getting involved in it, people are using it for their work, it means it's here to stay.
Yeah.
And it's going to change or maybe evolve your way you work. And that's how being a doctoral student, being into research, it's important for me to keep the academy updated. And that's how initially when I read through it, like I read through the research papers, I read through the future directions that we all doctoral students love to read. That was the thing that was being asked, that we don't know about it. In the literature, in the HRM literature specifically, we are not aware about it. We would love if somebody would take the time to dig into the whole idea of it, that how it's going to impact humans, how it's going to impact the workspace specifically.
Yeah.
So, for me, at this moment, every day feels like a progress as I dive deeper into these topics, which are honestly challenging me, refining me, but at the same time, they're helping me understand the whole dynamic interplay that's happening around. And if I have this heart to heart with the audience, maybe my fellows, that for me, PhD is just not about earning a degree, but rather it's about embracing a mantra which I follow and I would love to share with you.
Please.
That is work in progress. So a funny thing that every morning when I wake up and I see this mirror which is right in front of my bedside, it so it's so funny. I am laughing just thinking about that. So as I wake up, I see in the mirror, and when I see my face on my forehead, I can see it written in caps lock, which is like bold, and it reads work in progress. So that's a reminder for myself that the growth is ongoing. The growth is consistent. If not constant, it is consistent.
Yeah.
Maybe today I might learn a new thing which could impact my thought process maybe a millimeter.
Yeah.
And maybe other day it could be something else. So it's just about the ongoing process that life is giving you.
As you've already outlined with your progress through your 3 decades, it goes in chapters sometimes, and there are thresholds. You wouldn't call yourself an actress now, you would call yourself a researcher, but being an actress informs how you are a researcher.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So all those things that happen in your life, about rather it can be more terminological, like reading or learning or connecting with others, solving problems. It all becomes a part of your journey and who you are. For me, the whole PhD journey is about being the best version of myself, but while contributing to the society. That's very important for me. And that's the whole idea with which I got into the whole process. So I hope I am able to make you a part of my story.
I'd be honored to be a part of it. As you're telling me, because of course this is the second time I've heard this story, but that means I'm hearing it with kind of a different perspective. And we spoke about the gurus last time, and it occurred to me as you were telling the story this time that because doing a PhD, of course, is an apprenticeship. You are developing yourself as a researcher, as an academic, as a knowledge creator and disseminator. But in that process, you have your gurus, who I assume would be your supervisors.
Definitely.
You are also yourself developing into a guru. You will one day be directly a guru to somebody if you stay in academia. No spoilers, I know where we're going to go talking about that, but if you have one foot in academia, and you become the supervisor, you become the guru, or you become the person that people come up to at conferences and want to know more about these things. I think that's quite powerful.
Wow, that is a dream, I would say. If you are in that position where you can fruitfully impact any person's life, whether it can be in any of the roles that you mentioned, that would be, the wonderful or the most, how do I put? I am short of words at this moment because it's a feeling. At times, only when you step in those shoes is the best way of experiencing or expressing it rather. So I'll just leave it that way. I would want every one of the people who are reading, every one of you who is listening at this moment, that once you yourself experience it, you would know that feeling of being a guru better than anybody else explaining that for you. So on that note, I would just leave. Yeah.
There's so many things like that, aren't there? That you know when you know.
It definitely.
It has to be experienced.
It is. And when you talk about experience, I would like to give a realistic view also that whoever is right now considering to step into this program, which is very rewarding and which is very exciting to sound like, but the true nature is that yes, PhD is a tough journey. It is not going to be a bed full of roses, but necessarily it's not a bed full of thorns also. So PhD in itself is rewarding. And why I say it is because it is a perfect blend of where structured research meets unstructured exploration.
Mm-hmm.
So the beauty of it lies in the unpredictability. I know that might sound a little weird because our human nature, our human tendency is such that we get scared of uncertainties. But this journey, trust me, will surprise you in amazing ways that you didn't thought of. So the crux of it lies in the new insights that, as I said, are often unexpectedly, on your way. It could be through different conversations or through different perspectives. So since I have been talking to you, I have got new perspective to me. And thank you so much for adding that. I've got a new way of seeing life, new way of how things are done. As I said, I love what you're doing for the community. And that's very inspiring for people like me.
I'm
so
glad.
Thank you so much on behalf of everybody at this moment. That genuinely, it's wonderful that when you see people doing certain things and you tend to respect them, because that is sure out of the willingness to do something to community. That's wonderful. So as I said, this was unexpected. I never planned that I'm going to do this, I'm going to meet you, and blah, blah, blah.
Just an email pops up one day. And
Yes, it just happens. And that's how I have come to appreciate that how much knowledge thrives in collaboration and how literally rewarding it is to push our boundaries of what we know. So maybe if I wouldn't have seen that email that you sent, maybe if I wouldn't be willing enough to take that pain of just replying. Why I use the word pain is that it's not a negative connotation. Rather, it's about many of people who think themselves as introverts, or maybe they think they are not comfortable enough to reaching out to a random person. I would encourage them to do so. Because you never know when a stranger becomes your, best friend, when a stranger becomes the best mentor you could have. It's just about taking that one leap of faith.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I think that we don't often talk on these episodes, or in these episodes, I should say, about people out there who might be thinking about starting this journey. And that was part of what I was thinking about when I started the podcast, to get these stories out there, because I think if you, using myself as an example, I, other than my professors at university, I didn't know anyone in my life who had a PhD, which meant I didn't know what doing a PhD looked like.
Likewise, plus
the
one.
nuts and bolts. That was one of my motivations for starting this podcast, is if there are people out there who are thinking about doing this PhD, starting this PhD journey, to give you some insight about what that might look like. And I hope that it in general is encouraging, that it sort of opens your eyes to the possibilities, because I think it takes a certain type of person who is not risk averse, who is happy to get lost, who is happy to make mistakes, because making mistakes is part of the learning journey, of course, as long as you engage with those mistakes with the right attitude, that, okay, well, now I know that. Take, for example, the technical error that has led to us speaking twice here. It's I could get really and I was quite it knocked the wind out of my sails, and I was quite upset about it in the moment. But it's about what you do in response to the problem, and fortunately we were able to get back together. But throughout my PhD journey, there were similar things where I had to keep reminding myself, I'm a student. I'm not. I'm here to learn how to do this thing, to become an expert in this topic matter, but also to upskill myself and learn how to do qualitative research and use these methods and write it up in a way that's suitable for an academic audience and also a general public audience. All of these things are skills I was acquiring and developing, and so if I made a mistake, that was me learning something. Sometimes and most times in the PhD, I would say, you don't know what you don't know, which means you don't know what questions to ask. And so you find out you didn't know something when you make a mistake. And then it's about where you go from there.
I am actually at this point very curious, and I'm pretty sure the audience would be also. If you could just give us one line or maybe a sentence of what is one of the key takeaways from the whole doctoral journey that you experienced?
I mean, there's quite a few. because I'm an introverted person as well. You were speaking about that before and putting yourself out there. And I would say I showed you a quote the last time that we tried this. The audience will be like, okay, guys, I get it.
The insider jokes. No. Can you please, Professor? Can you please share it for the audience?
Yeah, I actually can't remember exactly the way that it's worded, but it's a quote from James Baldwin, the author James Baldwin, and it was, "I will not know where I fit until I create that place." And this podcast is an example of that. I have a hard time meeting people and warming up to people in what I would call a cold call situation, like at a conference on the ground. Just going up to a complete stranger and striking up a conversation is very difficult for me, not only because I feel like I'm very bad at it, but also because as an introvert, I find that whole process very draining. So it's stimulating being in that atmosphere, and then you add the stimulation of trying to speak to somebody, and I get too much in my head about things. I'm thinking like, am I asking enough questions of them? Am I talking too much about myself? Am I making myself clear? It's a nightmare inside my head. But I know that's a weakness of mine, and it's a skill that I continue to develop. I could just accept that and say, well, I'm introverted. This is tough for me. It is what it is. Or I could find workarounds. And this podcast is a workaround. Because on the ground at the conference, I didn't go up to a single person that I didn't know and try to strike up small talk. Yet, I'm coming away from the conference with meaningful relationships with 4 people who I didn't know before the conference. And that's because it's the 4 people that I've recorded these episodes with. It's much more meaningful for me. It's easier for me to have these deeper one-on-one conversations. And to meet people in diverse topic areas that way as well. And so my advice, like my big takeaway would be design your experience. Take that. It's an unprecedented period in your life of intellectual freedom. It's maybe the only time in your life that you can research whatever you want in the way you want. And of course, that's bounded by time and funding, but it exists for however long, and you should enjoy it while you can and make it what you want it to be. And sometimes you find that out by accident, and sometimes you design it on purpose, or maybe it's a bit of both. But that would be my advice: is don't. If you get too lost in, okay, I got to get this done, I got to get this done, and it becomes just a thing that you're doing, then you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities. That would be my headline piece of looking back. My advice.
Indeed, beautifully put. Honestly, I really respect the fact that you use the word, I know, I am aware about what my weaknesses are. Either I can just stuff it up and sit with those, or either I actually try to work through those. And that's commendable, that as you are doing it, as maybe other people will be inspired and they'll also pick up those habits that will help them to lead in whatever ways they are, in whatever careers they are. So that's beautifully put. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Well, I hope that it's interesting and useful. I think if you hear advice like that, it's all fine and good to say that, well, design your own experience. But I am aware that there are some people out there who don't necessarily feel empowered in their PhD. Based on how you've spoken about yours, I think that you do feel empowered and you feel that intellectual freedom. I think other people might. It's a very complicated cocktail. You have to have the right supervisory team. You have to be at the right institution. You have to be resourced properly, not only financially, but also just access to academic journals and software and training for that software. All these things. There's a lot of moving parts, and they all have to be right.
Indeed. I can't agree more on that. When you just brought this topic up, the first thought that clicked me was that the clarity, or maybe the intellectual freedom I hold, I credit it to the 4 pillars of my life. Without any one of them, it wouldn't be possible. So first and foremost, the primarily pillar of the whole idea of the whole intellectual freedom that a person has in PhD is the supervisor. I'm grateful for a wonderful supervisor who's there to guide me whenever I'm in this, a pothole, whenever I'm clogged with ideas. He is there to direct me. The second pillar that's very crucial is the community that you're around. As I take the sheer pride of being the person of XYZ Institute, I am in a similar fashion. I'm so proud of being an XLRI student. I am here representing my institute and the people that you meet in that institute. My colleagues, the other professors around, the admin staff, in general, the whole brand, the whole people around the brand. It is amazing that supports you. They necessarily won't support you in the technical stuff, but in the stuff which are invisible through the journey. That is when they help you. They act as cement to your brick.
Yep.
The third pillar, which is your family. Without the family in place, without their support, the journey does become difficult. I have heard few stories which rather are nightmares when there was a friction with the family and it took a toll on the person. And I am surely blessed to have a family. My father, my mother, my extended family, my siblings, my friends for that matter, who are like family friends, friends who are family rather.
Yeah.
Everybody is in the loop. One of the beautiful examples, so my best friends, they are not from the field, just like you. I have no close relatives or friends who are doing PhD or who are in the field. So they don't understand the struggles of it.
Yeah.
But what is beautiful is the efforts they take. So what I do is on the friends group, I just text them. The understanding that we share is that, see, I don't know what's happening in your life. You just do a thing that you text me whenever it is important and I'll respond back. So what we do is that whenever I have an exam, whenever I have a presentation, whenever I have a conference, I just put it on the group. Okay, tomorrow I have a presentation, wish me. And then the wishes are bombarded, you know.
Oh, fantastic.
So that's the beauty of it, that when people cautiously take the efforts to be there for you. And the fourth pillar that is inevitable, I would say, like I would emphasize the maximum on it, is you yourself. And with you yourself, I focus on your mental ability, your emotional status, and your physical health also. All these three parameters actually help you to sail through the journey. If you are not keeping well in any of them, please seek help so that you are in a better position to do justice to the program.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's not just about taking from, okay, this is the degree I'm getting, okay, this is the knowledge I'm getting, okay, these are the networks I'm getting. Rather, on focusing what I'm giving, after this degree, what am I living with? Rather, like the stamp that I'm leaving on the world. If we even put 1% focus on that, this world would be a better place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would just say like these 4 pillars: your supervisor, your institute, your community at general, your family, your friends, and you yourself. These 4 are the crucial pillars that root your PhD success.
Yeah. I think the last one is underrated in terms of its importance because it also happens to be the only one that you have complete control over. You can't control your supervisors. You can't control your institution. You can pick them, but you can't control them. But you can control your friends and family as well. They're their own people. You can't. So again, you can pick them, not your family, but you can pick your friends. The only thing that you can 100% control is yourself. And I think that it's the first thing to fall off the to-do list. If you're really under the pump, you have an exam coming up, you're trying to finish off a paper, you're probably not going to go for a run that day. Maybe you're going to eat fast food rather than making yourself a nice, hearty, home-cooked meal full of nutrition. But those things are more important. It's sometimes the most productive thing you could do, even though it seems counterintuitive, is to take a nap.
Indeed, why not?
Get some sleep so that you can, you're taking an hour out of your day that you could have been working, but then you're going to come back and get so much more done because you slept that hour.
Definitely. As you just put on. So let me just clarify for the audience also that it's not necessarily that, you are doing everything right when it comes to the life, eating right, sleeping right, doing right stuff. it's not the thing. Even for myself, there are days when I just log myself, okay, that's crazy that I'm saying that loud, but yeah, there are days when I've worked straight for 22 hours.
Yeah, it happens.
There are days.
Yeah.
You have those. And the point is, it's okay. Eventually, you fit in. Eventually, as you get used to the life, you understand how to schedule yourself. So the prime idea is that you know how you function, A. Second, you know what is good for you and what is bad for you. Once you have that clarity, you'll be very in a good space. You'll be very easily making a schedule, a plan for yourself.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is later to stick by it.
Yeah.
So that's about it. So it's okay if right now you're not in that position. Maybe I am also not. When I go back, I'm going to be jet lagged and things will flow out. But
that's right.
It's okay. I am giving myself a day or two to just adjust and then go back to the routine.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, make the timetable, look what projects I have to do, because there are a few projects lined up. Work on my thesis, meet people around, meet my colleagues, meet my professor. So that's about it,
Yeah. I think what you're speaking to is that you need to see these things as part of the process.
Definitely.
You can't be too hard on yourself. Taking a couple days to get back into the swing of things is part of the process. There's an analogy that we use in this. So one of the activities that I teach when I do design thinking with my students, but also organizations, is called the Lightning Decision Jam. And it's this structured brainstorming activity. And it starts with brainstorming around things that are working for your team, but also the things that are holding your team back. And it's a visual metaphor of a sailboat. So the things that are working are wind in your sails. The things that are not working are anchors holding you back. And so no matter how much wind you have in your sails, if you have too many anchors, you're not going to get anywhere, or you're going to get there a lot slower. And so it becomes about, sometimes it's not about maximizing the things that you're doing well. Sometimes it's about minimizing the things that are holding you back. And in many ways, that's easier. So if you ever feel like you're stalling, I think it's enough to just try to minimize the negatives. I could work the rest of my life, to go back to the introversion thing, I could work the rest of my life on becoming more extroverted, becoming better at small talk, becoming better at mixing and mingling, and never get to the level where I'm making the kind of connections that I'm making through the podcast. So it started as a bit of a workaround, and it's turned into the optimal situation. And I could not have known that it was going to be that, speaking of unintended consequences. But that's where I think you have to know yourself, know your weaknesses, don't surrender to them, try to minimize them. Eventually they become strengths if you work on them long enough.
That's wonderful. For that matter, I can give you an idea. You should try something known as Johari window. So that's an idea that will help you get a little more reflection on yourself, that how much you are aware about yourself and how much the world knows you.
Okay.
So that it's like a matrix and it'll box it out.
Yeah, brilliant. No, I'm definitely going to check that out. I think tools like that are, even if I would say I'm a very reflective person, maybe to a fault. I'm maybe too reflective.
Oh, guilty as equally. Because, so this reminds me earlier when, I was something in my early 20s. I had taken something known as a test, which was about multiple intelligences that tells you about what are your best way you learn. And one of that was, I was surprised, I scored a 10 on 10, which was the highest in terms of modeling. So the best way I learn is through creating models. And for example, that if we are having this elaborate conversations at this moment, like if you ask me, how would I show the podcast to somebody? Will it be through audio? Will it be through a presentation? Will it be through XYZ or whatever format? Or maybe an essay? Naturally I'll be driven to making models or mind maps. So visual representation is something which I have a good hold on, so I can easily put across a large data set into small models for easier explanation. And that's what has come very handy to me, because that point, during the early 20s when I didn't understand the value of it. You're in that little age when you're still trying to figure out, this is who I am. Fine, later I'll understand. When I started this journey of PhD, and specifically for my thesis or for my coursework or for other research projects that I'm involved with. When I'm going through the literature, I actually have unconsciously started making mind maps.
Right.
So as we know that, just highlighting stuff when we read through papers, initially I used to also do that, like highlight the important notes and then maybe write a small token, like a line of noter, and then pass through that research paper and go to the next one. And then if you want to go back, you just go back and just refer to blah, blah, blah. The whole idea, the natural process that we know.
Yep.
But what came in handy for me was I used to end up making like doodling. Rather than doodling, I just took it a level up and I started doodling into mind maps. So from a research paper, if there are some interesting ideas that I'm liking, I would try to put them in a form of model, something known as a nomological network. So if that paper has already given me a nomological network, well and good. I'll just copy that like as it is, and then I'll make my own notes that, okay, this variable is talking about this. These are the different factors that it has involved, and this is the definition that this author has used. Something like that. And eventually, if that is not present, I end up making my own. So if it is briefly, if any of the conceptual papers, or if it is about any other paper for that matter, experimental or any sort of paper that is in this world, you end up doing that. And that has helped me through. So when I go back now, if you ask me, if we are discussing about something like this Johari window thing, I'll just go back, I'll see my note regarding that, and there I can find a visual representation. So that will help me recall, oh, this is what I had read in that paper quicker than just going back and reading those highlighted notes.
Yeah.
So that's what I figured in this journey, the PhD life that we call. And that has come very handy to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It would even help you see, because you've already made those connections to, so this thing that you're doing reminds you of this idea. You go back to your mind map to check out your notes on that idea and immediately see how that idea is connected to these other ideas. And maybe that opens up something new about the starting point.
Indeed, that's what I'm trying to work on, even for that matter. So my thesis that I'm right now exploring, so I am in the pre-thesis stage, which is known as whereby I'm going to, I've given my proposal and now I'm going to step into data collection. And as I mentioned that we are trying to explore AI in the context of skill development and well-being. And we'll be digging into, first, we'll be like, the idea for skill development is that we'll be collecting few interviews and then we'll see what comes out of it, like the factors that enable or disable it. And later we are still open, we'll figure out what we want to do it later. It's like, it's in that stage where I'm figuring out.
Yeah.
And that's why conferences like Enzyme or other conferences that I have attended here, that was CIE 51, all these conferences have helped me to understand, okay, this is the rough idea I'm having. This is the direction actually I can take. There's already a plan out there. But sometimes when you get a bird's eye view of your own baby, it gives you a better idea. Okay, maybe this was a loophole which I was not even aware about. But when you see somebody's presentation at the conference, you realize, oh, I was going to make the same mistake. Oh, how would I triangulated? Now I have a better idea about it when I've seen it from far away. And now as I go back, to the place, I call it like to my second home, which is my institute. I'm going to get hands-on with all those ideas, jot down, and then start working on them.
Yeah.
Because they were, as I said, they were everything other than being a roadblock. That is how I'll put. It was fruitful, it was learning, it was a new experience, it was great exposure, it was networking. Like my fingers will be not enough to, do justice to it.
Yeah.
So that's about it.
I feel like that's a nice place to wrap up that part of the conversation. We can move into the final questions. The first of which is, what's on the horizon for you?
Maybe I was waiting for this question. So I'm very interested to share this idea that I have about how I look ahead. One of the favorite questions that HR ask, how do you see yourself in 5 years? And in 5 years or say in 50 years, I see myself creating a world where there is a loop. Now, what do I mean by this loop? A loop means a complete circle whereby what goes out of academia, specifically academics, reaches corporate, and what goes out of corporate reaches academia.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a enclosed circle that is center of my attraction at this moment. That is something I am deeply curious about. And why I say curious and not passionate, it's because at this moment I still feel that there is a little gap in the whole idea. There is a bridge which has to be, if not build, at least connect. And that's why I want to believe that stepping into the corporate world is essential for gaining practical insights. So, by immersing myself in the realities of what actually happens in the organization life. And that's why I aim to better understand the challenges and opportunities that people and business face today, specifically in these dynamic times. So, the practical experience will not only enrich my perspective, but will also equip me with the real world examples and solutions that I can bring back to the academia.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to be one of those professors who is out there giving wonderful examples to students, and the students can just come up to you and say, oh professor, that was a wonderful example, this is the corporate I'm going next to, this is where my placement has been, I would like more to know about the industry, and I should be equipped enough to help them with that information. So the whole idea is that I see myself contributing as say a visiting faculty or a industry expert or whatever you would like to name it as, and sharing the learnings that I can bring back. So it's not just about being out there in either of the worlds, rather it's about being omnipresent. That's the focal area. Being omnipresent and thinking beyond yourself. So just merely being omnipresent can do good for me. I can earn money, I can earn exposure, I can get the life sorted. But as I said, it has to be bigger than me. And that's the idea where I say the loop is to be created.
Yeah.
So whatever I am gaining, I would love to give back in terms of to the organization with better numbers, if that they want, and to the say our academics, to our institutes with better student experiences, student institutes, so things that they would love. So it's like, a sweet spot, best of both worlds.
Yeah.
That's the idea of it.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to what we were saying before, designing the place that you will fit in. Because I think broadly that's the direction that unis are headed in. And I also think it's the direction that unis need to be heading in, coupling the theory with the practice and allowing them to. That, of course, is the way that it works. Theory is derived from practice, and then practice is informed by theory. But at the moment, it's a disconnected and very slow process where you're talking about just making it an ongoing.
Definitely. It's more about creating a two-way street where there is practical knowledge, but which is informed by theoretical knowledge as well.
Yeah.
So it's about the lessons that we learn from practice, and then we feed back to research and teaching. So the crux of it still becomes research.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep researching either new things or either the old things that have been already mentioned and who need a taste of time. As things evolve, maybe sometimes you have to go back to literature and check on some facts or maybe some theories or some models for that matter. So it's about researching wherever I am. That's the binding factor that will keep me holding both the worlds.
Yeah. I think any organizations that would allow you to achieve this loop would benefit from the loop.
Yes.
There is a move more toward, in industry, a move more toward what they call the triple bottom line. Financial considerations, yes, but also environmental considerations and social considerations. And I think it would be smart of an organization to have somebody who has one foot in, if not academia, then at least the research side of things.
Definitely. More than the loop, the word that I'm using, the better word I think would be synergy. So this is a space where I'm passionate about creating synergies of, the multiple perspectives that are in front of you. And at some point, you will have to do that if you want to evolve in current dynamics time,
Yeah.
specifically, as I said, about AI or maybe to do with other technologies. It's very important for us to be on our toes and be ready to constantly evolve for better.
Yeah.
So even for organizations, for that matter, it's more than sometimes about triple bottom line. It's about a new space which will be knowledge related. You would need a little bit of knowledge regarding what's happening apart from your particular building, your particular organization,
Yeah.
your particular team, whatever, unit of analysis you want to see it into. So it's very important for somebody to just get in there and do that. And that's how I feel that that's the space I would like to be in. That's the space I would like to
Yeah.
create, so that it is more a space where, it's an opportunity to make knowledge more actionable and impactful. Whether it is in the classroom, through my publications, or through some class lectures, or through collaborations with industry and academia alike.
No, that's brilliant. The very last question that I like to ask everybody is, what is something in your life not related to your PhD that you're excited about at the moment?
Oh, I get you. You're trying on that space where what is your life apart from the degree that you're doing?
Yeah, that's right. Which is a tricky question to answer because sometimes the PhD takes over or...
As you said, it's your whole life at a point, Sometimes you're so invested in it, and I secretly justify that also, that at times, certain things demand that sort of attention. So I have my own days, my own slots rather, in which I'm purely invested in the whole process, Okay, it's not like I cut off from the whole world, but yeah, I prioritize it over other things. And things change, time change. Apart from the academic world, also there's a life. And yes, I also do have a life, but I would like to focus on the more critical aspect that has, made me who I am today, which was deeply rooted in my early experiences as a child artist. Why I am talking from that reference, it's because when I started at the age of 5, in that tender age, at that very moment, I had started valuing the importance of communicating. And it's just not communicating with yourself, your friends, your peers, or your parents for that matter, but it's beyond that. I put it as, or I see it as rather, a art of communication. So when I stepped into the world of performing arts, a space that was much more than the life I had seen in a classroom. It was a sort of creative outlet, whereby in my school, say I had my drawing class, so I used to draw. That was a creative outlet. This was more of me performing creatively out there. It was through my expressions, it was through my body language, it was through other things. So it was sort of creative outlet. I still hold that. Honestly, if you see my business cards, if you see my presentations, I am out there. The last thing that you can see is a plain white slide, because I feel that this is the moment where, I can just be all out there. I have done this fantastic work through my research. Now it is on me to make my audience understand. Because I purely feel, maybe it's because of the child artist idea, that it's very important that whatever idea you have, whatever knowledge you have, to communicate it to the larger audience. Because just holding it to the idea myself, it's not going to do any good unless until it is disseminated to the larger audience. And that's the thing, that even in my presentations, when I'm making it in conference or making it for the classroom, it is more to do with interactiveness. I highly understand and value the importance of experiential learning. You learn by doing things. And that's how that I have tried very bit of it to make it as enjoyable experience for the audience as it can be. Now my audience can be either, say, the organization, maybe my CEO for that matter, or maybe my colleagues or somebody else, or it is somebody like students, or maybe my institute head, or people like that. If you realize the value that there is a shift between the audience, you will excel in any of the field. All you need to do is to understand what the audience want rather than what you want to say. So that's a fine line between it. So this is very important to me as well as the way I have been grown up. So my parents, my father has, specifically encouraged me to see that it is not just a work that I was doing back then as a kid. It was more of a grooming school, which I already mentioned. It's about building your whole personality, how you will be as you grow up into an adult. And one of the most transformative lessons from those years was about communication. So till today, when in my free time I'm talking to any person, it could be, somebody who's from a very knowledgeable field, or it could be somebody who, maybe not even know how to read or write. So that's a different sort of people you interact with. But what stays common is the idea of, as I put, the fine line that what I would like to present rather than what they would like to learn. So that's the fine line. So whether it was about delivering dialogues with conviction back then, or understanding the nuances of human emotions today, it's simply about engaging people across different age groups and walks of life. So I have developed this deep appreciation for connecting with peoples. And that is the ability which comes through pure, say, empatheticness. That is through valuing the way you communicate. You put efforts in it. I have put real efforts in it. This doesn't come naturally. Maybe since a young age, I was trained in a way to do this. So I really appreciate that fact that this has stayed with me. And it has not only shaped my personal interactions, but it has also shaped my academic and professional pursuits. So these experiences are so instilled in me that I love any form of storytelling. I always say this, that, a report that you make is a story that you tell. So it's the power of understanding how you can build relationships, how you can foster collaborations, and the most important, how you can solve a problem. And maybe beyond academia, this is what really makes me go. Being this invested in things in daily life. So that's about it, the bridge that one needs. I guess I'm going to go back that the bridge of communication between the academia and industry. That is what I really am passionate about. And I would love to do something in terms of great knowledge creation that can help both the worlds. So even now, I find joy in just those small creative pursuits that allow me to express myself and connect with others. And honestly, one of the reasons why I decided to come here, apart from the sheer respect I hold that what you're doing for the community, is to connect with the audience. I understand I'm not able to see them, but today, even if one of the listeners is able to make a good change because of this conversation, in any form, it's helping them in any way, that is a win for me. Those are the small joys you get out of life.
Absolutely.
So it just constantly reminds me the importance of staying grounded in who you are while you are continually evolving and learning from people and the stories around you. So this is, the whole idea of it.
Yeah, well, what I think you've nicely illustrated there is that you see the PhD as just part of your broader life journey rather than being your life journey, which is...
Definitely. As I said, it's one of the biggest milestones of my life. I didn't say it is my life. So that's a difference. I value it for whatever it is bringing on table for me and what I am able to contribute back to the knowledge But if I don't separate it from my daily life, it's going to be very harmful for my well-being also. And just not for me, but for it also, for the project itself.
Yeah.
When you get too attached to something, that's when you start losing a perspective.
That's right.
And that's what I would not, that's the biggest nightmare, I would say.
Yeah.
So I would love my work to talk for itself rather than talk for me.
Yeah.
So the research that I present, which is AI and human interplay, is different from who Charvi Hasmukh Shukla is. That's the whole crux of it.
Yeah, it's just a part of your story.
Indeed.
Well, I feel like that's a good place to wrap it up, a beautiful place to wrap it up, if I may say. And it's worth noting that the audience has come up in this recording, I think, more than the audience has ever come up in a recording. And I say that because that illustrates what you're saying, that you're always thinking about. You're aware that there's an audience out there. You don't know who they are. They haven't heard this yet. We're speaking live in the moment. Hopefully you get some feedback, but even if you don't get any feedback, you know they're out there. You know that people are downloading this. You know that they're listening. Your story is...
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's not about receiving something back from them. As I said, it's more about they receiving anything out of it.
Yeah.
It's more about giving it rather than taking something.
Yeah.
And as we are heading towards the closure of it, I would love to give this piece of thought, and which elaborates as the pillars that define my journey is communication, humanity, academia, research, vision, and innovation. If you see the first alphabet of all these words, it would actually elaborate my name, which is CHARVI. That is Charvi. And that is what my journey has been. From a child artist to a passionate researcher to maybe a corporate enthusiast, and then maybe wherever life takes me.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea is to aspire to bridge a gap in the worlds of academia and practice by advancing the knowledge and deriving meaningful changes. That's what I would like to leave the thought for you.
Fantastic. Well, let's wrap it up there then. Thank you very much for taking the time twice to sit down with me. This has been a different conversation than the one that we had the first time around. Interesting in different ways. And I hope the audience, unfortunately, won't hear the first one, but we know how it was different. So thank you very much. I wish you all the best as your journey continues.
Thank you so much, and all the best to you. And thank you so much for doing this for all of us. On behalf of everybody, as I said previously, a big thank you for what you're doing for the community. More cheers to you. More strength to you.
It's my pleasure.